Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
And today we're going to be talking about Act 2 from Kentucky Route Zero, along with the second interlude, which is called The Entertainment. Before we jump into our recap and discussion of the game, though, one fast thing, which is we got a review on Apple Podcast.
Nice.
Yeah. It says, one of my favorite gaming podcasts, fun and friendly host, always have great perspectives on really interesting games. Integrating listener feedback into the episodes is a nice touch, well produced and well worth listening to by Considonk. Thank you so much for the kind words. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. That's very nice. Very encouraging.
Yeah, totally. Super affirming. When I came across it, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Nice hearing stuff like that when people want to throw it our way. So, yeah, thank you so much for that. And if anyone else wants to do that, we'd super appreciate it, and we'd read them on the episode too.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got anything you want to send our way, we'd super appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, cool. Well, let's jump into Act 2. So, Act 2 begins, and Lula Chamberlain is receiving a rejection letter for the imagined architecture institute that she applied to. So we met her, we didn't meet her, but we knew of her from the interlude last episode, which was an art exhibit of hers. So that must have happened after this moment, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Because, she's kind of old.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I assume it'd have to be after, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. That would make sense. Being afterwards would... And I guess unless she was able to get work published other places, but this place didn't work. Maybe it's one of those things where no one cares about your work while you're alive, but once you die, people are like, wow, you were such a good artist. It's like, man, that would have been real helpful when I was alive.
Yeah. Paid the bills better than working, as we'll see where she works. But...
And then, within that, she's just sort of discouraged, then has kind of talk with a coworker, and it's sort of annoying.
Yeah.
For her. Then you jump over to Conway and Shannon, who we've been playing as before, and you stop to ask for directions at a place called the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces. This place is interesting for sure.
Yeah. Very strange, as most of the things in this game are.
Yeah, I felt like this episode kind of secured the tone for what the game is, and you're like, all right, cool. I think I sort of know what I'm in for now, the next 3 episodes. A little more. But you stop to ask for directions. You speak to Mary Ann, who's the receptionist there, and you want to find out how to get off the highway that you're on, because you're on Route Zero at this point. So you're trying to figure out, how do I get off Route Zero and get back to where I was?
Yeah.
And Mary Ann says, oh, I don't know how to tell you how to get back to above land, almost kind of speak, but I'll set you an appointment with someone else in our department or at our office who will know how. You end up having an appointment with Lula. And you meet Lula, and she tells you that, oh, I used to live on a Dogwood Drive, which is where Conway is trying to deliver this package. But, it's probably not the same one. Also, I don't know if you know this, but we actually had to rename all of the roads. There can't be more than one road of the same. So there's a lot of Dogwood Drives probably, but now there's only one true Dogwood Drive because our computer would get confused by it, and it would say name collision and wouldn't allow you to move forward.
Yeah, it felt very much like how I would expect a bureaucratic organization like this to be. Yeah, just the whole thing felt like a sarcastic expose or whatever the word is on bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really going how to show how like silly and dumb something like this is. So it was like, oh, there's probably like a dog would drive, orange, or a dog would drive, another unassociated word, like
blue.
Yeah. It was really funny to hear them talk about it. You're just like, what? Instead of fixing your computer, you just change the names of all the streets.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And so she says, okay, well, that's the bad news. The good news is, though, is that you could probably look at our records and find out what this dogwood drive was potentially renamed to. Maybe that will, like, get you there, kind of thing. And so she sends you upstairs to look at the records for all the dogwood drives that there have been, and then you can kind of see what they were renamed to. And maybe that will give you clarity as to how to get to your dogwood drive. And it's funny, too, when they, like, send you up there to look at it. You're like, oh, you could look up your files under, like, name changes, or, like, it was all these, like, weird ways to look up your files.
Yeah.
This place seems so weird. It's so great.
Well, yeah, and the fact, too, we're in, like, a underground tunnel. It's just so weird. The whole thing is strange. Very strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The strangeness, like, continues to mount, which is amusing. Also, when you do this, you take the elevator to go upstairs. And as you go upstairs, it's like, room 1 or floor 1 is like the offices. Floor 2, conference room. Floor 3, bears. Yeah. And there's just a bunch of bears in this office floor.
Yeah, they're like pretending to work or something. It's so weird.
Yeah, that like maybe they don't use this floor because the bears are there. And so they just like are like, well, yeah, we don't use floor 3. Like, floor 4, records. Like, it's
just so weird. This whole thing is so strange. It's hard to like pick up on, okay, what the hell's actually going on with any of this?
Yeah, it's totally fantastical and bizarre, for sure. So you also, Lola suspects that her old lover may have sent you here, who is Joseph, the gas station attendant from the beginning. She's like, blind guy writes bad poems, and we're like, he was writing poems? It's so goofy.
Yeah, the dialogue is so interesting. I feel like they usually give you like 3 options, and one of them, there's always one that makes the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
Then some of the other ones are so random that like you would just never say in a flow of actual conversation. It's just so weird.
Yeah, it's strange. You're like, I almost wish I like, maybe I'll try this for the future episodes, but try to do more of the weird conversation. I can't help myself. Like, I try to just do how I would, but maybe I should try to do the wild stuff instead.
Yeah, to see where it gets you.
Yeah, just kind of see what happens. But then you look through the records. Unfortunately, only, I don't know, A through F is in the record department. The rest of the letters from the files haven't been moved yet. They're still at this old storage unit facility that the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces previously used, but now they're in this building, so they're sort of in transition. So Lula says, okay, you came up short looking through your records on these. The rest of them are over at St. Thomas Church, which has been turned into a storage facility. So you can go there and look through our files there. Someone will be able to like direct you to our units within that. So you guys say, okay, and you head off. She also tells you about Dr. Truman to fix your leg as Conway. She's like, oh, here's his card. He'll help your leg out. We've got to get that looked at, kind of thing. So, cool. All good. Have some direction. Head on out. Driving around on the Zero is strange at this point, too, when you are able to do it. It's like a big circle, and there's occasionally spots you can stop. It's definitely very noticeably different than the map above where you were driving last episode.
Yeah, it's almost like a you can tell it's a cave based on how the developer made it. It looks like the inside of a tube kind of as you like go through it. But yeah, even some of the directions they have are so weird. Yeah, like I think Lula says, yeah, you'll I don't know, take 0, and then you'll see a giant crystal, and then there you are. That's like the storage facility. Then there's other weird ones, like there's a big fern or some plant.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really weird directions. Like no one ever tells you, yeah, turn right on this street and then the next street. It's always like, oh yeah, there's the old big rock, and then the I don't know, the old Miller farm. You're gonna make a left. It's always really strange directions.
Yeah, and for the crystal, it was something like you'll go to the crystal, then just go back a little bit, and then you'll be able to do it or something. And you're like, what? Like, but then they're like, I know it sounds weird. You'll see it when you get there, kind of thing. And you're like, okay, like, it's very strange, very odd how this seemingly works and what travel's like. But anyway, you make it ultimately to St. Thomas Church, and the church was turned into a storage facility. You're speaking to the janitor, who says that it was a church that was at one time large. It was launched as a big thing, and then slowly the members stopped coming. Then more and more members stopped coming. Finally, it was just the preacher preaching by himself. Eventually, he stopped coming and just put his tapes there if anyone showed up, and the janitor just like plays them at the time that the preaching would normally happen.
Yeah, it's just kind of a sad scene. It's like this government thing just somehow took over this church building, and then no one wanted to meet in a storage facility, which makes total sense. So people stopped coming. It sounds kind of depressing.
Yeah, the impression I got was that the government, the Bureau of Reclaimed Spaces, were like, oh, there's this church that's abandoned, so we'll take it over so that it's not abandoned, maybe? Well, like,
yeah.
Sort of, it's very weird, though, nonetheless.
But it's weird because it wasn't abandoned, because there was people there. But it's a mystery, like most other things here.
Yeah, totally. And so while you're there, the janitor turns on the old preaching tape, and Conway sits with the janitor, and Shannon goes and looks for the records. Since Conway's leg is acting up, you can choose to listen to the sermon, or you can just talk to the janitor. I ended up just listening because I figured the janitor wanted to, so...
Yeah, that's what I did too. I maybe asked him a question, because you could listen, be a large paragraph, then you could ask him a question, then listen. I think I maybe asked him a question or two, but that was about it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so not anything super eventful. Shannon finds the record, and you head back to the bureau. When you make it to the bureau, Marianne, the receptionist, lets you know that Lula had just left in a hurry. So the good news is that they did process your paperwork, so you can transfer back to the surface roads. That's what they called it, not above ground, but the surface roads, which is, I don't know, kind of the same thing. But
yeah, it's weird you have to get processed to go back out there. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I wonder if going again with like the silliness of bureaucracy here, like
yeah.
that. Okay, cool. Now you're on the surface roads, not in the zero or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows, man? It's weird.
At this point, your goal is to find Dr. Truman. Conway's leg is like fucking him up at this point. Like he's like passing out, not looking well, stuff like that. So we go to a house that was the address we got from Lula for Dr. Truman. They go to where his house is supposed to be, and you get to the Museum of Dwellings, which is apparently a museum of a bunch of different types of houses that people currently live in.
Yeah, so weird. It makes no sense. It's so funny. Yeah, there's there's like museum workers, and then when you first get there, it's hard to explain how it goes, but yeah, you'll like go to different houses, and then the museum workers will talk. It's as if they're talking to the residents about what you were doing in there, and that's how the story progresses. It's kind of cool, kind of strange.
Yeah, it's odd because the first time it happens, you're like, you don't really get it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, but then as I had more conversations, I was like, oh, I need to respond with the question or the things I want to know so that they'll recount it. Like to me as if it happened in the past. So it's odd. The way I took it is that these were I might be wrong, but the way I took it is the Museum of Dwellings is like, a museum of houses for some reason. And then maybe people who are poor in the area live in them on like the side or something. Like they're not part of the museum, but that's who lives there and that's who we were talking to. But maybe they were the museum workers.
Well, I know when I first got there, it said like museum staff, and then it had like the dialogue, but then there was times where it was the resident, just a name of a person, which I assume were the people that live there.
Yeah, because there's like a circle desk, right, where you talk to one of the museum staff, I think, at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's very strange, though. It's a pretty... I like this. It was weird, but I liked it as a way to get information, because then they're talking about what happened in the past, and you're like, okay, how do I ask questions to get the answers that I want so that I can, find Dr. Truman?
Yep. That's how I played it. Mm-hmm. Played it, too.
Ultimately, what you kind of find out is Dr. Truman's not here, but Ezra knows where Dr. Truman is. So then you kind of ask your questions to figure out where Ezra is. You talk to everyone, and no luck. You're not really finding anyone, but you find a construction lift and take that up to the next kind of floor or the roof of the museum in hopes that maybe I'll find him up here or maybe find other people that can get me to where I want to go. You meet Ezra up there. Ezra is this young boy who is like a mile a minute.
Yep.
He's like, oh, Dr. Truman, me and Julian were doing this, and me and Julian that. Like, he's
like,
just...
Who's Julian? I don't...
Yeah.
Who are you talking about?
Yeah, and he's just, a mile a minute full of excitement. He says that me and Julian take people into the forest so they can sleep, and you're like, okay, cool. Where's the forest? How does that work? And he's like, oh, like the Museum of Dwellings, like people are just really sad when they're here and they can't sleep. So that's why I take them to the forest. Me and Julian do it. Me and Julian are taking care of them, sort of thing. And you're like, all right, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, my first thought was like, the forest sounds like it's where you go when you die.
Yeah.
Or like the farm or something like that from Wolf Among Us. It's like, all right, I don't know if I want to go to the forest, actually.
That's a good point. I didn't think of it being as a bad thing, but that would make sense.
Yeah, it just sounds... It could be ominous. I feel like anything, like the farm, the forest, I don't know, the house, it is bad. Always bad.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I feel like that makes a lot of sense to me. And so... Through asking more questions with Ezra says, oh yeah, I know where Dr. Truman is. I took him to the forest. Me and Julian could take you there to see him. We actually got to go soon. Do you want to go? And we're like, yeah, sure. Then a giant bird picks all of you up, which is Julian, apparently.
Yeah.
Then you have to fly over a certain big pond, and then the forest is over there. And for this part, because I'm an idiot, I had a little bit of trouble finding it. But I think I'm just terrible at directions. So that's not the game's fault. That's certainly my fault.
I had some trouble too.
Really?
I think just generally had some trouble navigating the map. I think it's part of the game is like, you just get shitty directions and you're just like, all right, I'm going to go. It's almost immersive because as Conway, you don't know what you're doing or where you're going. And as the player of Conway, you don't know where you're supposed to go. So that's how I felt, at least. Was like, I'm just going to fly around and eventually I'll find it. Or I'll just look it up online if I have to.
Yeah, that's true. It did make me stop by fly overhead different things, and you get little descriptions of them because of it. Because I was definitely lost for a minute. But ultimately, you do get to the forest, and you hike through the forest, and ultimately do meet Dr. Truman. You talk to him for a second, and then he gives you Neuropanol, and it makes Conway fall asleep. When he does this, Dr. Truman's talking to you, and he lets you know that he was, I guess, disbarred as a doctor before. He was a practicing doctor, but lost his license. And it sounds like it was either for overprescribing this med, like, oh, this medicine can fix that, and just using it in all circumstances, regardless of the ailment, because like he was maybe receiving funding from this pharmacy company, or he was selling it on the side, like he was taking meds and then selling it on the side to people to make money because he needed to pay off his student loans. I'm not sure. It was a little unclear to me. I don't know if one of those stood out more to you or is right.
I thought it was the first one.
Okay.
Or some version of that. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm honestly not totally sure either.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess either way, it's that he was practicing medicine, but was struggling financially, it seems, and so he was doing unethical things to try to dig out of student loan debt.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so, and that's where Act 2 ends. And so, because we are doing this as an act and an interlude, what I decided to do is divide up our listener feedback according to that. So we'll first do a little bit of listener feedback for just Act 2, and then we'll move on to the interlude. So first we've got from Morgan on Twitter, who says, I love how it steadily gets creepier and creepier. I honestly need to watch a Let's Play because it's really the same effect as playing. Exploring really gives you more info that you're craving. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I do think that this game would be pretty good as a Let's Play. I don't know that you necessarily have to be physically playing it like other games would demand more of.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on how like the dialogue works, or like if you would want to pick a different dialogue option than I guess whoever's playing and you're watching. That could, I could see that being kind of annoying. So, but I guess you probably don't need to pick the right dialogue to get what you want. I bet it funnels into the same end of each conversation. So.
Yeah, I would imagine like a Telltale game or Life is Strange or something. I bet you could watch those and potentially enjoy them as much. I'm glad I played them and being in control myself, but I think you'd probably still get a lot just watching them.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those games that it's fun to play for sure, but you could also have almost as equally an equal level of fun as if you were watching it be played.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We got Tales from Waystone on Twitter. Says, it's been forever since I played it, but I remember really liking it.
Awesome. And then lastly, Noah on Twitter says, I was totally stunned by the ending. The entertainment is an excellent prelude to Act 3. Yeah, I was pretty stunned by that ending too. I certainly didn't expect a giant bird to take us to the forest.
Yeah, it pretty strange. The giant bird reminded me of BioShock 3, that big bird robot monster thing.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
kind of what it reminded me of. But in this case, it was good.
Right, a good version.
I also like how it was named Julian.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I did too. I really was expecting another kid, It's
Yep.
like, me and Julian do this. And you're like, all right, is that like your older brother? Whatever. And then it's a giant bird. You're like, okay, cool.
Well, in that conversation with Ezra, he mentions that they pick up the houses and move them back and forth every day.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you're lying, kid. Like, you're not picking up houses. But then, after seeing the giant bird, like, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you do that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I guess you probably do that. Julian could probably carry a house.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's pretty big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also, I'm excited to find out the full meaning of the entertainment being an excellent prelude to Act 3. So I guess with that, we should get into the interlude, the entertainment. So, it begins, and you've got Evelyn talking to Harry at the bar. Harry is the bar owner, and Evelyn's one of his patrons. And I think they're there at, like, late morning or lunchtime. And Evelyn is worried about her husband, who's doing sales on the road. I guess they normally would run a hardware store, but she's at the bar and he's on the road selling hammers.
Yep. Random.
Yeah, it's very odd. And Harry recently returned from a beach vacation in New Orleans, so they chat about that for a little bit. He lets them know that he only serves Hard Times whiskey now.
Worst bar ever.
Yeah, that he doesn't have other drinks. I think Hard Times gets mentioned earlier in Act 2.
Oh, does it?
I think it gets mentioned when we're at the bureau, but it doesn't go farther than that. It just gets mentioned offhand, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. Evelyn, though, comments and says, "Oh, I've heard weird rumors about the distillery. Are you sure you want to go in business with them?" And he's kind of like, "Hush, don't gossip about people," basically.
Yeah, it's maybe there's something weird going on, which we'll find out more, I assume.
Yeah. And then they change the topic and he's like, "Oh, yeah, the entertainment tonight. The entertainment is apparently an artist called Junebug who's going to be coming." So they mention that. Evelyn and Harry continue to talk. You kind of have a scene change. Oh, actually, also, I should have said this in there, is this conversation is going on and you're a character basically known as Barfly. You're a guy like drinking at a table to the side by himself. And when you look around, you realize that you're inside of a play. There's like an exit sign. You can see like the director. You can see people in the audience sitting there. You can like hear them cough in the background. So you're
so weird.
Yeah. So you're at this play that's apparently being done. But it also seems like it's real. So let's see what this means next episode.
Yeah. One of those weird, quirky things that just kind of like, all right, I'm going to go with it.
Right, yeah, you're just rolling with it. And your character only looks around. They're only an observer. They don't engage with anything. They don't talk with people. They're just kind of watching this whole thing unfold. Evelyn and Harry continue to talk, and he says, "Oh, yeah, I sat poolside all week last week." And she kind of calls him, and I was like, "Wait, was it poolside or at a beach?" And he's like, "I don't know. I don't really remember." And you're like, "Okay, this is getting weird. What's up?" kind of thing. But Pearl comes in, and that kind of stops the conversation. And she asks if her parents have been in. They tell her no, and Pearl says, "I want to cut my parents off. I don't want to pay for their drinks anymore." You find out at this time, too, that Harry basically lets people have sort of a ever-growing tab at the bar. So, you'll drink, for 4 or 5 hours. Say, "Put it on my tab." He'll say, "Okay," and then you'll leave and not pay him, and then maybe next time he might bother you, and you'll give him $20, and, that'll hold you over for a while. Sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That sort of vibe that you kind of have from this place is that it just has regulars who build up big tabs. He eventually calls people on it, and that's sort of how it goes.
Yeah.
So Pearl says, "Hey, I want to cut him off. I need to talk to him, but yeah, I'll be back later tonight," kind of thing. Next kind of scene is Pearl's parents show up. They're named Rosa and Lawrence, and they're celebrating promotions in the family. Rosa apparently is, or not Rosa, but Pearl apparently has a promotion or is doing well at her job. But then Rosa also had a good thing happen at work earlier. Her supervisor said that she was management material, and so
that's feels like such like a 60s thing to say. I don't know, or be excited about.
Yeah, it really is. I felt really bad for everyone in this part.
Yeah.
So excited about these promotions, and Harry warns them, Also, yeah, Lawrence has just kind of gone like, yeah, you're management material. Like, you're a shoo-in. Like, misplaced optimism, I guess, of like hearing positive words and then kind of believing it will work out, or only hearing the positive part, as we'll find out later, instead of like taking the whole thing, just latching on to the good part and kind of ignoring everything else around it, which is a bummer to have had misplaced hope.
Yeah.
With this, though, Harry, the bartender, warns them, hey, Pearl said she's not going to pay for you anymore. You're going to need to settle up. You're going to need to pay. And, she's not going to float your bill anymore. And they're like, all right, whatever, but we're celebrating. Like, and Harry's like, all right, fine, whatever. Also, at this point, Judebug is late. They were supposed to be the entertainment. They haven't shown up. But kind of everyone at the bar is like, oh, I'll leave once the entertainment comes, or after the entertainment, That's sort of the attitude. Pearl returns, and she tells her parents, hey, I'm not paying your bill. I'm not doing that anymore. You've got to, like, take care of yourself. I want to strike out on my own, basically. Do this kind of right. Be separate. Set boundaries. And Lawrence is like, no, you should pay our bill. Like, your mom's management material. Like, this is a big deal. We should celebrate. And Pearl kind of shoots back and is like, if she's management material, she's going to get paid more. And, we'll be able to pay for your drinks herself. So,
yeah, fair point.
Kind of pushes it back and is like, holding her ground, which I think is probably good. By Pearl there for sure. But as they're talking, Rosa says, Lawrence is like, Rosa, say it all for him. And she's like, my manager said I had management, I was management material. I had potential that maybe someday eventually it would happen. And you can just see the mood sour of, wait, management material, maybe someday, eventually. Well, that's not that good. That's
that's like everyone.
Right. That's really like putting it off. They just didn't want to be shitty to you, and so they were like, it could happen. Like it's sort of that to her, which is like, oof. Like that I feel like that would feel pretty bad to have a realization of like that kind of thing when you've been like, I'm celebrating, it's gonna work out, and then you're like, maybe not.
Yeah, probably not looking good.
Yeah, that there maybe isn't even a job that you would be able to get anyway. So a little bit of a bummer for them. After a little while of conversating, Harry admits that he didn't go on vacation. Because, Evelyn specifically has been kind of like poking at him and being like, so what did you actually do? And he's like, I didn't go on vacation. But there's going to be a reckoning. And he's kind of mentioning that there would be a reckoning along the way until this point. He instead says he didn't go on vacation. He just sat in the bar in the dark for a week, which that's like next level depressed and sad.
Yeah. This interlude's kind of sad. They all just have problems and are kind of down on their luck. I guess, except like Pearl, I guess. I mean, her parents are down on their luck, so that means she's got a rough time, but...
Yeah, it really is. It's just like a lot of, sad character building, basically. Is you learn people's backstories and find out that their lives are bad, basically.
Yeah.
From here, Harry says, I have no money, and I had to make a deal with Hard Times Whiskey. The deal is, I had to make a deal with Hard Times Whiskey. It was bad. Harry tells Pearl, you don't deserve this. You should go. You should get out of here. And, Pearl pays her debt and leaves, basically, and is gone. Heads out. Now, Evelyn, Rosa, and Lawrence, and Harry are all kind of sitting around sad, but insistent on waiting for the entertainment that's not coming. And Harry says, you need to leave. But they don't want to. He's like, please settle up and go. And they're like, nah, we don't want to. Harry then says, all they want is debt. They feed on it. They put it in the whiskey. And Harry's like, or not Harry, Lawrence hears this and he's like, well, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's in the whiskey. Like, you bought the whiskey. Our debt's not to Hard Times Whiskey. It's to you, kind of thing. And Harry's like, no, you don't understand. It's not like that anymore. The deal I had to make, like, that debt passes beyond me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Harry says, someone from Hard Times Whiskey is coming, and there will be a reckoning. And shortly thereafter this, a glowing skeleton walks into the bar, and your interlude ends.
Yeah, it's so strange.
Yeah, it feels like that glowing skeleton's just gonna kill everyone, is what I'm imagining. But, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Something like that. I mean, it's weird either way. Like, yeah, this, it's so weird. It's so interesting how it goes from, like normal, the real world problems that people have to like, boom, glowing skeleton. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh, yeah. It's wild, because it's before this, it's, mundane and almost boring. Like, it's interesting because you're kind of learning about people's backstories, but it's all really, like, you're so much this barfly observer. You're just looking back and forth across the screen at conversations that are happening. It's so not dull in a bad way, but dull. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then it, like, ramps up really fast, and then what the fuck? Glowing skeleton. Like, it's pretty wild as of a turn to be like Finn,
Yeah, it definitely made me interested to see, okay, what characters are going to be in Act 3? And what will that even look like? Will it be before this, after this, like, same time? Who knows?
Right. And what it means for being a play. I mean, I'm convinced this is all real. Like, this all seems like stuff set in the universe we've had before, but it's strange that it's a performance of it going on too.
Yeah. Dude. Who knows?
Yeah. No idea. Cool. We've got a little bit of listener feedback about the interlude too. John on Twitter says, while it was very long, it drew me in and made me interested in paying attention. I love how, like the other interludes, it sets up some characters you'll soon encounter. So that's cool. I imagine we at least see a few of these people next.
Yeah, I hope we see the glowing skeleton. I really want to know what that's about.
Me too.
Yeah. Kito on Twitter said, mind-blowing plus wrenching plus gut punch. So, yeah, that's fair. I feel like it's not mind-blowing until the very end. Then it is. But, throughout, though, it's definitely kind of wrenching and gut punching because it's just sort of sad, depressing.
Yeah, it's really depressing just hearing what these people's lives are like. That, like, it feels like they're just in this poor town. Nothing's happening. Nothing's going well. Nothing's gone anyone's way, like, probably their whole life. And they just, like, sit at this bar all day. And have sad stuff going on in their lives all the time, like... That's rough. And then,
that does not sound very appealing.
No, not at all. Cool. Well, I guess that wraps the interlude. So now for us, we're going to move to our general thoughts on this whole Act 2 and the interlude kind of thing. So my first thing is, I think that Kentucky Route Zero, that Route Zero must be kind of like the wardrobe from the Chronicles of Narnia or platform 9 3/4 from Harry Potter, where it's sort of you've got like the regular world that everyone's a part of, but there's almost like a portal of sorts into this sort of fantasy section that some people are a part of. Because it seems like the people on the surface who knew how Route Zero actually works have been there, or vice versa. So it seems like there's maybe something like that, and I feel like that's how I'm sort of gonna explain it in my head so far. Like, something like Julian can't exist on like the surface world, but in the Route Zero world, that's fine, or these other things. So that's what I'm kind of imagining, and maybe Route Zero is, this fantasy world is better than the above ground world where people are struggling.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, because there's just a lot of weird happenings. Like, yeah, there's all these buildings underground. Even just the Department of Reclaimed Spaces and the museum and the forest. All the shit's so weird and so strange. But I think the thing that's makes it even more confusing for me is no one seems to be weirded out by it, especially Conway and Shannon, who have just been there for the, if it is like what you're describing, this is the first time they're there, but they don't seem to be fazed by it. They just kind of go with it. So it just doesn't add up to me. So it's confusing.
Yeah, it seems like the way I'm like taking them right now, which is not fair because I'm like leaping some, but it's like, okay, Harry Potter understands there's a wizarding world and then he's accepting of it. Or like the kids go through the wardrobe and they meet Mr. Tumnus and they eat his food in his house and they're like, oh cool, fawns happen. There's a wicked witch. There's not a wicked witch. Ice
Wicked
Queen?
Witch.
Is it Ice Queen?
No. Yeah, Ice Queen probably. I forget.
I don't remember either.
It is a witch.
She's evil. Yeah. I guess it's not Wicked Witch because that seems like Dorothy.
That's Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, like that movie. Yeah, but either way, they just sort of accept the new world they're in, and they're like, okay, cool, like that's fine. Like they're not that phased. They're a little weirded out at first, and then they just move forward with it. And we didn't see that interaction happen for Conway or Shannon, which I think is bad. Like you're pointing out, they should be phased by it. But I wonder if somehow that's happened for them, or maybe Shannon or Conway already has this like pre-knowledge before they're ever in the game where we're experiencing it. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be true.
I'm not sure. It does seem like you said last time. It does seem like there should be a reaction from them. That's like, well, why is everything so weird? But no one does it.
Yeah, Yeah, there's, and when I say this is confusing and strange, that's not bad. Like, I think it's confusing, but it's not like a confusing, like, this is annoying, I don't like it. It's more of I want to see what happens. And I think that's, like, the main thing I was thinking about from this episode, last episode, the interludes, whatever, is where's this headed? Like, I can't see how they can conclude this. Is Conway just gonna make the delivery and then that's it? Like it's gonna just be such a lame ending. I could see it just be so normal. Like he just makes the delivery and then he retires and goes to live somewhere. Like that'd be so almost fitting, but.
I kind of feel like it's got to be the delivery happens to end the episode or in the game. That feels like that would make sense to me too. But it does feel lame. Like I don't know how they would like do that and have it be like, okay, cool, that was a weird journey.
Yeah, but they made it. Yeah, because there's so many. I just can't even fathom where this is going.
Yeah,
so I'm excited to see in the next 3 acts. Yeah, 3 acts where it ends up.
Yeah, me too. I have no idea where it would go or what stops we can make along the way. I think because everything's so different, it's like I can't even anticipate anything. It's just sort of okay. I feel like I'm along for the ride and I slightly understand what kind of ride I'm on more now than I did last time, but really I'm still just along for the ride. Like I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I've only got one other point on here, but I thought a thing that struck me a lot in this episode specifically was a lot of how a lot of the characters were dealing with like poverty and debt and problems that like stem from that. This a backstory that I forgot to mention in the recap was with Ezra. Him and his family were like living at a bus stop or something, and he was like, "Yeah, one night me and Julian were out moving houses, and we came back and my family was gone, but my stuff was still there, and we were like, I think Shannon or Conway asked her like, did they like ditch you? Like, what's going on?" And he's like, "No, I think they just forgot me," kind of thing. And
Yeah.
you're like 10. That's so shitty. Like,
Yeah, it's so sad.
yeah, that's so sad. Or like Dr. Truman doing unethical things. Like, it's bad for sure, but I could understand like being really trapped feeling by that. Or, all of the people at the bar that we experienced in the interlude, like Evelyn, like doesn't love her husband and is just drinking away her life at the thing, and is like, I hope he just cheats so I can like leave and feel okay about it, basically, sort of thing.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah, or like Pearl's parents being misguided and like misplaced hope, followed by like, oh, you're just like stuck in like dead end type jobs, and like what you're doing now is probably the same as in 10 years and was the same 10 years ago. And for Pearl, like being kind of stuck in that but wanting to change it. Harry, like business failing, his wife died and like 10 years ago or something, and has just been like kind of trying to carry on since then, like all of this kind of stuff. It's like, man, everyone here's like really 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 struggling. Like it's a rough scene in this area.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of wonder if the guy who made the game is trying to have some like, I don't know, commentary or something on society or poverty or things like that. Maybe that's a reach. But there's definitely, you're right, there's definitely like a theme of that in this.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the Act 1 with Joseph not being able to pay his like power bill or not paying his power bill. You see that, I think, in one of the emails when you look at his computer. And then other places just kind of being shut down or whatever. It just seems, yeah, there's poverty is it's a pretty big focus or talked about in the game a lot.
Yeah, I think Shannon talked about I forget her cousin's name who we first met, but that she couldn't afford the house at one point, maybe.
Weaver? Yeah.
Weaver, yeah, I think that was talked about.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it seems like this must be a big theme for them. I wonder if they grew up in like small town Kentucky or a different like small town state where it's like you're like those small towns where it's basically everything's sort of shitty and like impoverished, like this, where it's just like things go bad and people don't tend to get breaks and they just stay bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that does seem like a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I had another point, but I forgot what it was. Yeah, I forget. Oh, yeah, and then even this might be a reach. I don't want to read too much into stuff, but like the mining company treating people like shit. Then you have this whiskey company, taking advantage of this bar that's going under. Even like the if Dr. Truman's issue is he just needed money, and then this pharmacy company maybe taking advantage of him, and then so like you have big business just ruining people, I guess, could be a thing. Then even like the government being, maybe they should be helpful, but then all they do is have all these loopholes and red tape, and they just take over spots, and maybe it's just some kind of commentary on the greed of corporate things and how they ruin people, and then also how the government's kind of like, we're just gonna push pencils and I don't know, not really make a difference I don't know. That could be a giant reach, but I could see that being something the guy's trying to hit up as he's making the game.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. That could be something they're kind of putting forward, because like all of those situations too are sort of in spots where it's like the big business can kind of be like, this is the way it is, and the like people in the poor area don't really have a choice. It's like, what are you gonna do? Get a job somewhere else? There aren't any. Like, it's and then them just fucking people over, which is fucked up. Like that's super wrong of any business that would do something like that. The mining company, Hard Times Whiskey, whoever, if you're just taking advantage of people and like treating them poorly because you can, that's always bad.
Yeah, definitely.
Sort of thing. And yeah, I think you're probably right, just shining a light on something like that. I am very curious, like you said earlier, too, though, of like where this goes next. What else will happen? Will this theme be explored more? Are there new themes that will come? What other fantastical things can happen? I mean, this seems to put forward that like there can at least be one giant bird, and also some sort of horror figure of this, shining skeleton thing.
Yeah.
Are there more? How many more? What will we see? Like, I've got a lot of questions, and I feel like I guess we haven't played like an episodic game that's new in a while. Like, we played Walking Dead more recently, but that we'd played before. But I'm eagerly anticipating what's next. I haven't felt this way in a while where I'm like, what's next? Like, I really want to play Act 3 now. Like, I already feel eager for it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. For a game that is the animation's really cool, but it's not, over the top. It's not like crazy graphics or anything. And then there's no dialogue. Well, it's all text-based dialogue. For a game that, quote unquote, just has that stuff going for it, I've really been sucked in, and I really want to keep playing it. Honestly, I could probably just binge the rest of it. If I had time to, I would probably do that.
Yeah, I think if we weren't podcasting on this, I think I would, like, if I was just like playing it on my own, I think I would have just binged it way faster.
Just beating it in an afternoon.
Yeah, or just, kept going over a week or over a weekend or something. I like that this is making us stretch it out and enjoy it, and like having these conversations. I think this is fun. Like, I'm excited to come back next time and talk about Act 3 and that interlude and all of that, and be like, okay, what new shit did we get? What do we think now? Like, I feel like it's gonna feel that way all the way to the end, and then at the end we're still gonna have a bunch of questions. Like, I feel like that's how it has to go, because like I can't see it going any other way.
Yeah, that's what I envision as well.
That's awesome. No, yeah, but this has been fun. I'm definitely enjoying this, and I'm excited to have the full picture too of whatever it is. Like, even if there's lots of questions and it doesn't make sense, I'm hoping that the 5 episodes and the interludes kind of bring okay, this is the stuff I do know now. And I hope we can have like good commentary on that at the end of, okay, cool, we got here. Here's sort of what we know. Here's things we learned, whatever, like all of that. But super excited to see what happens going forward.
Yeah, and I assume we'll get things wrapped up pretty well, because this game seems to be pretty widely liked by most people. So I assume most people wouldn't like just, a bunch of loopholes, things don't make sense at the end, that kind of stuff. So I bet there'll be some conclusions drawn.
I think you're right. I agree. That's all I've got for general thoughts. Do you have anything else?
Yeah, no, that covers it.
Sick. Cool. All right. Well, that is Act 2 of Kentucky Route Zero, along with the second interlude called The Entertainment. Next time we'll be back with Act 3 and whatever that next interlude is called. So I don't know what that one is called in advance, but we'll be doing that. But in the meantime, if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do that on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Our website's TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. If for some reason you jumped in at this episode and didn't listen to episode 1, we do have that also, along with a bunch of other games. So, yeah, definitely check those out. That would be cool. If you'd like to support the podcast financially, you could do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed for as little as $1 per month. That will get you access to a monthly bonus episode we do, where we talk about things that are video game related, like we rank the Life is Strange episodes, or not video game related, like we watched Mandalorian Season 1 and talked about that. So if that interests you, check that out. I think we have around 20 episodes in there at this point. So, more content if you want it. If you'd like to rate and review us on Apple Podcast or anything like Considonk did, that would be super cool. We'd super appreciate that. So you could check that out there or on Podchaser, wherever you can review stuff. That'd be cool. And yeah, that's our episode, and we'll see you next time.
Cool. See you guys.